So let's talk about the hand-to-hand card transfer. I know that's a rather long name, so I'll just call it the hand-to-hand transfer rather than the hand-to-hand card transfer. So yeah, but the hand-to-hand transfer is actually a move that allows you to pass one palm card from one hand to another. And it's basically, I mean, this genre of move, I guess it fits under the hand wash sequence type of move, is actually the genre of card sleights that I probably hate more than passes. Which, if you know me long enough, you'll know that I don't really like passes all that much. So the fact that there's something that tops passes in terms of things I dislike more is pretty rare, I guess, but I'll get into that a bit later on. So this move's publication history is actually pretty interesting, not because it's by Di Vernon of all people, but because yeah, it's just published really bizarrely. So this move was actually first published in the most famous and probably most popular magic book of all time, and that is Expert Card Technique over here, but not in the form that we all know and love. So this book in particular is actually the second edition, which was actually published in 1940, but the move itself, so the hand-to-hand card transfer, was published in a different edition, the third edition, which was actually published in 1950. So this third edition actually includes additional sections from both Di Vernon and Dr. Jacob Daly, and these section was actually in this right after this one section. So if most of you guys probably own this edition, and so most of you guys will probably know that part 6, misdirection and presentation, is actually the last section of this book, supposedly. But the third edition actually includes additional sections. So right after presentation, misdirection and presentation, there's the Di Vernon and Dr. Jacob Daly sections. So if you own the Dover published one, like I do, you won't get this additional section. So you're either gonna have to buy another copy, or you're gonna have to ask a friend to, like, oh yeah, can you send it to me? So yeah, you're gonna have to buy like a physical copy or the ebook version of it, which is slightly annoying because this is the most popular edition of the book, and they don't even have the additional sections, so that is pretty annoying, but that's just whatever, right? But what's really interesting about the move is that a passage from the third edition actually states that the move was created on a whim by Di Vernon. And what this means is that he was actually performing for someone, and he had a card palmed in his hand, and then a new person came in and he was like, I need to shake his hand, but I have a card palm. So what did he do? He just did like the move on a whim, and then he just shook his hand, right? And then he didn't get detected, and then the performance was all good, right? But yeah, he later revisited the move, and then he refined it into the sleight that you see in this book today. Well, not in this book, in the third edition, but yeah, he revisited it. There we go, and then yeah, it's in the third edition now. So yeah. So let's talk about the main mechanics of the hand-to-hand card transfer. So this move will only require you to know basically a classic palm. Usually, I would ask you to know usually you would need to know how to palm a card in both hands. But you know, if you're just starting out, then you only need to probably just learn it with one hand. But yeah. If you don't know how to palm a card yet, you can refer back to my touches on the classic palm video, so it's over there. But you have a card palmed in your left hand or your right hand, it really doesn't matter as long as you have a card palmed, because you can do it in both hands, and then you could do it interchangeably rather. Also, I might remake that classic palm video because it is slightly outdated, and I do my palms. I do approach my palms differently now. So yeah. But let's go back to the topic at hand. I don't know what the expression is, but you have a card palmed over here, so it's just your standard classic palm position or whatever. And now the thing that changes is this. So basically, your pinky is going to move below of the card, and it's going to contact the lower long edge over here, right? So it's going to move from its usual position to down there, right? And that's basically the first motion. The very next thing that you're going to do is that your pinky is going to kick the card upwards, right? And to do that, your pinky is just going to close until it contacts the ring finger. So now you'll see that my pinky is actually slightly like forward, right? It's actually offset from the rest of my fingers, like so, right? And by closing my pinky finger, this actually rotates the card and exposes this upper left corner over here, right? And this is actually pretty important because this serves as the foundation for the move, right? So what you're going to do now is your other hand, so your right hand in this case, approaches this card, approaches the upper left corner over here. And what you're going to do is that your index finger is actually going to contact this corner over here, right? Because your index is contacting this corner, what this means is that as your hand continues this forward motion, what happens is that your index swivels this card. Well, it doesn't swivel, it doesn't like physically do anything. It's more like this card actually just kicks itself into your palm, right? So if you see this, because my index is over there, it acts as a pivot point, and this card actually swivels into my hand, into my right hand as this forward motion happens, right? So there's basically not much to it. You're basically just doing another like palm, I guess, but you're not doing it with your pinky, you're doing it with your index, right? So you're going to go forward, and then the card swivels into your other hand, right? And we're going to continue this forward motion until your right hand wraps around your left hand, like so. And you're going to continue until this like thumb crotch, I guess, contacts the palm of your left hand, like so, right? So now you're in this position. So generally it shouldn't be flashing too much, but yeah. So now that you're in this position, you're going to pull your hands apart, right? So you're going to pull your right hand to the right and your left hand to the left. And as you do that, your now clean hand is just going to stroke the thumb of your dirty hand. So it's like this. And then as you pull away, this happens, right? And then you separate both hands. And that's basically the general motions of the hand-to-hand card transfer. So that's the general motions of the hand-to-hand card transfer. One thing that you should note is that this entire action should be done in one smooth motion and very casually, right? So if you're being burnt and you're doing this, like, yeah, well, look at like how clean my hands are, right? That definitely won't fly, okay? And what's really interesting is that you can actually repeat this transfer over and over again in both hands, right? You just need to mirror the moves in your other hand. So for example, I have a card palmed in my left hand. I just do this. There we go. And then I just do this again. And then I just do this again, right? So I can repeat this on to infinity. And the only thing that really matters is that I just do it casually. And that's basically it for the mechanics of the hand-to-hand card transfer. So I'll just quickly go over a covering action for the hand-to-hand card transfer. Diverna actually has one, but I'm not going to go over that one. You can buy the book for that one, and it's not necessarily my favorite covering action as well, so I'm not going to like touch on that anyways. But one thing that I do like about the hand-to-hand card transfer is that you can actually blend it in to an in-transit action. So yeah, blending it into an in-transit action actually allows you to skip that weird cupping action as well. So yeah, I'm just going to just briefly go over this this covering action. So this involves reaching for another item. So if you have a card box, or you have like the deck over here and you have the card palmed, right? It's this covering action involves reaching over, right? So for example, if you have a card palmed in your right hand, right? Here, when you're reaching for this box over here, you're going to do the hand-to-hand card transfer, right? So as I reach for it, I just do the hand-to-hand card transfer, and I just skip the weird cupping action. So I just go here, I palm the card, but rather than doing this weird thing, right, I just go directly forward, so I don't roll my hand around this other hand. I just go directly forward and I reach for this object, right? And that's basically the covering action that I prefer a lot more than doing like this, right? Because that just looks really off, right? So rather than doing that, I just have my dirty hand over here, do the hand-to-hand card transfer, and then that's it, right? If you're having trouble with just grabbing cards and you're stuck in this like weird like, I don't know, like claw machine grip, what you can do is that you can actually curl in your index finger as you palm this card, right? So you have this, so as you palm this card, rather than having just a normal classic palm, what you can do is they can actually do an Alan Ackerman broken palm. So what this means is that rather than palming the card with your pinky and your thumb, the thumb crotch, you're actually going to palm it over here, right? Over on this long edge over here. So release pressure with your pinky finger, and you're just going to curl your index finger over it, right? So now you have this position, which now allows you to grab objects a lot better, right? Because now your index is curled, right? Because honestly, who grabs objects like this? That's just weird. You would normally grab objects like this. So the purpose of a broken palm is just to mimic this action, right? So yeah, when you have the hand-to-hand card transfer, you just do this, transfer into a broken palm, and then grab objects in the broken palm, like so. Right, and that's it for the covering action. It's very brief, but honestly, I would much prefer doing the covering action over just doing this, because that's just really, I don't know, that's just really bizarre and doesn't really, I don't really like it in general. So yeah, have fun with the covering action. I mean, I know that a lot of people will find it uncomfortable that that now your dirty hand is the one that's doing most of the action, but honestly, you shouldn't really fear it because of how fast it is in context and how casual it is, right? Because over here you're just doing this and then pop, right? That's basically it that you're doing, right? You shouldn't linger on it for too long. If you linger on it for too long, you're gonna be like, now my hand is stuck. Oh no, look, there's no card here, and then you're just flashing everything. So the entire thing should be very casual and should be done in one smooth motion, just like how the sleight itself is meant to be done, right? So you're doing this, pop. Right, and then you produced it from the box, right? That's just an example. You don't have to use this exact choreography, but honestly, you shouldn't fear like hard stuff, or you shouldn't fear like ballsy stuff, because honestly, like most people will miss some moves just because, you know, whether it's the heat of the moment or like social media has distorted our perception of what people look at so much that it's kind of hard to I don't know, I think that the new generation is just very too conscious about perfection, when honestly in reality you really don't have to be that wary about, you know, flashing, and as long as you be casual enough, I think you can get a lot like away with a lot of stuff. So honestly, yeah, don't be too afraid of this. So yeah. Now let's talk about the external reality of this move, or not just this move, but of hand washes in general. So I hate hand washes because they look really stupid. So I'll just give you an example, but this is what hand washes look like, yeah, just in general. And I'll do it without any cards, and I'll do several variations of hand washes as well. But you'll see that, you know, it makes no sense. It just looks really, really dumb. And no, like, quote unquote normal person would do that, because it's just, well, first off, who does, it's called hand washing for a reason. It's in the name. So why are you washing your hands when there's no water, right? That's so bizarre, right? If you're just going to show that both your hands are empty, you would just do this, right? Simple as that. But instead, we as magicians have to do this because we have to transfer cards from one hand to another. And honestly, I think that looks a lot more suspicious than doing this, transferring it, and then just doing this, right? So I would rather do this, show one hand, and then do the other, than do this, because that looks way worse. Because now you're, not only are your hands being burnt because you're doing something, but now your hands are also being burnt when you're doing something stupid. I just basically repeat the same sentence, but that's besides the point. But I much prefer, like, there are transfers that don't require you to do this weird hand washing sequence, so I much prefer transfers that have this proper context or do mimic an everyday, like an actual everyday action. For example, there's this clap transfer, which I'm actually not sure it's by, but there's this one, right? Which I think it's way better, because honestly, I do see people do this all the time, right? I do see people do this or do that, right? Or something along those lines. So doing this and then transferring a card is so much better than doing this, right? It's so bizarre. But yeah, that's my general gripe with hand washes. Now, if you're interested in hand washes or just palm-to-palm transfers, I do have a few resources. A lot of the resources that I wanted to put have been sold out, so that's a bit of a pain, but I'll try and give as much as possible. So there's Expert Card Technique, the 3rd edition by G. Newgard and Frederick Browie. It's sold as an ebook on library, or it's also sold in its I think it's in a hardcover, so there's that as well. There's By Forces Unseen by Ernest Eric. There he teaches one. I believe it's from a flat palm to a classic palm, so go ahead and look at that. There's also Valerino by Jean-Pierre Valerino. I don't know why I said that in French and then English. That was weird, but yeah, there's that resource as well. It's on Vanishing Ink. There's also If an Octopus Could Palm by Dan and Dave Buck. Don't worry, it's not. I mean, honestly, that move is more of a flourish more than anything. But I do think that it's an interesting enough move to sort of study. So I do want to, ask people to get the book, because it's it's a pretty difficult book. But yeah. Overall, I don't like this move, but that's why I'm presenting it. It's because, we can learn a lot from flawed moves. That's why I love passes so much, even though I hate them. It's because, man, there's a lot that we can learn from moves that are flawed in general. And, we can try to think about them and then apply them to moves that we do every day, or that we currently do. I think those lessons are so much more valuable than people give them credit for, and that's why I'm presenting them to you. So honestly, if you always do like hand washes, or you do like a back palm at this in a close-up situation, I am going to hit you, because I don't think that's meant for that's definitely not meant for close-up, right? That's meant for stage, or meant for parlor. So yeah, just try to be aware of a move's context, and try to think about whether that context fits in our current day and age of Magic, because now we're in a day and age where close-up is very prominent, and especially with the digital era, this close-up is only in this one frame, right? We don't have the ability to misdirect people. We don't have the ability to place things outside of that frame, because we don't have that peripheral vision anymore because of how the camera is framed. So yeah, there's a lot of things context-wise that changed, but yeah, I think it's very important to be aware of those contexts, right? So if I see someone do this on social media, I'm going to hit you. But that's about it. But yeah, hope you have fun with this move. Hope you have fun with playing around with this move. If you find some better uses for it, then I do hope that I do hope that you find some usage out of it, whether that be lessons, whether that be like an actual like practical use for it. I do hope that you find some use for it. But yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.